The topic of fluency instruction is divided into 2 PowerPoints. Each one is about 8 minutes long. The first PowerPoint deals with defining fluency and its components and developing sight vocabulary. As you'll recall, fluency is one of the 5 areas of reading instruction as detailed in the National Reading Panel's report, Put Reading First. As you can see, fluency is more than just being able to read smoothly and quickly. In a way, it acts as a bridge between word recognition and comprehension. Fluency rests on 2 major components. One of these is automaticity, which is the fast, effortless decoding and word recognition that is often the result of a great deal of reading practice. Automaticity hinges on accuracy and speed. Accuracy is the ability to read words correctly. For many students, it never occurs without explicit and systematic instruction and decoding. Speed is also known as rate. It allows for smooth reading of connected text. In the early stages of learning to read, readers may be accurate but slow and inefficient at decoding and or recognizing words. Skills with phonics and structural analysis may not be well developed, making the decoding of words time-consuming and even laborious. Readers aren't going to know every word automatically that they meet, but when they do encounter a new vocabulary word, fluent readers can decode that word quickly so that their train of thought and comprehension as they are reading are not greatly disrupted. In addition, fluent readers have an extensive sight vocabulary, meaning that they can recognize a large number of words quickly or automatically. Difficulties in one or both of these conditions can slow reading down and hinder comprehension. Continued reading practice helps decoding and word recognition become more automatic, rapid, and effortless. Automaticity is necessary, but not sufficient, however, for fluency. We also need prosody. This involves reading with expression, appropriate intonation, and smoothness, with phrasing that reflects the meaning of the text. It makes listening to someone read aloud enjoyable. Automaticity is necessary for any complex task that we perform, and that includes reading. Students must recognize printed words accurately and automatically so that they can focus their attention on comprehension. So, how is this done? Medical research is showing that there are certain neurological factors underlying fluency. Many of the phonological tasks that are part of decoding and support the process of reading initially occur in the frontal area of the brain. As we become more proficient with these tasks, they are subsumed by the back part of the brain. This leaves more desk space in the front part for other tasks that comprise reading, such as the construction of meaning. Remember the 4-processor model of reading that was discussed in the first module. The tasks conducted by the phonological and orthographic processors are performed in the back part of the brain when good readers are reading. However, in the case of poor readers, these tasks, which take considerable effort and attention, are still performed in the frontal area of the brain. The result is that comprehension may be compromised, since less attention can be directed toward constructing meaning. However, interventions have proven to be successful in improving the speed and amount of effort with which these word recognition and decoding tasks are completed. Now that we have talked about automaticity, what about the other component, prosody? This is the stuff that good actresses and actors are made of, but also fluent readers. Imagine what this excerpt from Alice in Wonderland would sound like if automaticity was present, but prosody wasn't. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank. You get the idea. Reading was word by word, with no expression. It's hard to determine any meaning from this. But if the words are grouped syntactically and in a way that reflects the meaning of the text, phrases might be grouped together this way. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank and of having nothing to do. Once or twice she had peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. Fluency is not a stage of development. Fluency is fluid in that it changes given a variety of factors. We might deliberately slow down and or read in a less fluent manner when we are handling complex text, or when the text has a great deal of challenging and unfamiliar vocabulary. By the same token, our fluency may be enhanced when reading in a simpler text or a text that we have read before. Read this paragraph aloud to yourself. What did you notice about your fluency? Did you feel that your reading was less fluent than usual? Why do you think that is? All of these factors influence a reader's fluency. We will talk about developing sight vocabulary on the next slide. As we mentioned earlier, automaticity rests on word recognition and decoding skills. When a student encounters a novel word, he employs a variety of phonics, structure analysis, morphemic analysis, and context clue strategies to problem solve that word. His knowledge of these strategies and speed and agility in using them will determine how quickly and accurately he can decode a new word. Context clues or cues are the words in the text that surround the unfamiliar word. They can be very important to not only figuring out a new word, but also are very important to helping determine the meaning of that word. When a child needs to pause to puzzle over what a new word means, this slows down his reading, so speed in detecting the meaning of a word also impacts fluency. Earlier we mentioned the need to develop word recognition skills. Many times this involves building a bank of words that a reader can recognize automatically. Of course, this should encompass the words that young readers are most likely to encounter as they read. That is where the Dolch and Fry word lists come in. The Dolch sight word lists is a commonly used set of sight words. Educator Dr. Edward Dolch developed the list way back in the 1930s and 40s by studying the most frequently occurring words in children's books of that era. The list contains 220 service words plus 95 high-frequency nouns in a separate list. These words comprise 80% of the words found in a typical children's book and 50% of the words found in writing for adults. Once a child knows this list of words, it makes reading much easier because the child can then focus his attention on identifying the remaining words in the text. The Dolch words are commonly divided into groups by grade level, ranging from pre-kindergarten to 3rd grade, with a separate list of nouns. There are a total of 315 Dolch sight words. The Fry sight word lists were developed by Dr. Edward Fry in the 1950s and then updated in the 1980s. It's a more modern list of words than the Dolch list and was extended to capture the most common 1,000 words. Dr. Edward Fry developed this expanded list based on the most common words to appear in reading materials used in grades 3 through 9. Learning all 1,000 words in the Fry list would equip a child to read about 90% of the words in a typical book, newspaper, or website. The Fry words are listed by the frequency with which they occur and are often broken down into groups of 100. So, the first 100 Fry words are the 100 most frequently used or occurring words in the English language. This is where our youngest students would begin. Reading and practicing high-frequency words in phrases can also be an excellent means of improving speed and accuracy. Some children who might struggle with reading Fry words presented individually actually perform better when reading them in a phrase, which is really a more natural way to practice reading after all. There are numerous websites that have the Fry lists of phrases, but 2 are listed here for you to consider for your use. Let's take a stretch and give you a chance to check out those websites.